I'm going to tell the police that you beat me up. Then never in my life have I felt so small. I was pained. There's nothing like that in UK. There's nothing like that in UK. I'm not a nurse. Yes, you are not a nurse. I am sorry. I cannot be nursed by a monkey. Go back to the bush where you come from. Then I had to spit on me. You know that I was spitting. Care homes are not a popular thing in most of our countries because we tend to take care of our elderly. But here in UK, there are 17,600 care homes, and as of 2021, there are roughly 418,000 people living in care homes. So elderly care is another fraternity which you might find yourself working in or which you might consider working in. I have done videos talking about the pay rate in care homes. Unfortunately, it's not only the pay rate which contributes to job satisfaction. There are other important factors which contribute to job satisfaction. We look at things like communication process, company culture, job security, working conditions, opportunities, career development, etc. Oftentimes you hear people saying, no, I can't work in care homes because people lose their pins in care homes, or I can't work in care homes because of the culture and things like that in care homes. So today I'm going to be shedding more light on what happens in care homes and some of the challenges that you might face in care homes based on my own experience and the experience of other people that I've spoke to. It's not often that you find someone saying, I now want to leave the NHS and go and work in care homes, but most of the time you find that a lot of people want to leave care homes and go and work in the hospital. If you are new to my channel, this is the channel where we keep things real. And if hearing nothing but the truth is something which you're interested in, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. For now, let's get into it.
Alright, they asking for the queen. I'm a bad bitch, she's a savage. Look back while I twerk. No comparison. I'm a savage, yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet, yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty, yeah. Acting stupid, what was happening? What was happening?
A care home is an institution where they admit the elderly people. Most of them they admit from the ages of 65 and above. There are different types of care homes. You may find the residential care, nursing care, dementia care, or learning disability. And when you initially come to work in UK, you're not going to be working as a nurse. You are going to be working as a carer or a healthcare assistant. Most of the time people say you are not helped or you are not given a mentor when you go to care homes, which is true because I've had quite a number of people who come in and say, you know what, I've gone to work and I've been told that I'll work as a carer on the floor. I don't even have a mentor. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. One thing that I can tell you guys is that you need to familiarize yourself with the terms which are used here in care homes. For example, one of the residents says to me, I want to spend a penny. And to me, a penny is money. What do I say? Oh, I've been to the vending machine. We've got drinks, we've got snacks, we've got chocolates. What would you like? But I don't think a penny is going to be enough to buy anything from the vending machine. And then there was awkward silence. Why? Because a penny is not money. A penny is a way of someone telling you that I need to pee or I need to urinate. I had to ask for my colleague to say, he says he needs to spend a penny. And then that's how I knew that, oh, okay, spending a penny actually means to urinate. So there are times where you're not going to be able to know all those terms, and you are not going to be having someone to assist you to say, okay, this is this, this is that, this is that. So my advice to you guys is that if you are going to be working in a care home, make Google, make YouTube your best friend, because that is where you're going to find most of the information. People are not always willing to help, but I'm not saying that's what happens in all care homes. And then another thing which I experienced here, someone comes to me with a pad, which is an adult diaper, and just shoves it in my hand and says, go and change room 1000. And there I was. I went to room 1000, get there. Good afternoon, my name is Pauline, may I please change your pampers? I call them pampers because back home you know that anything which is a diaper we call it pampers. And the response was, get out of my room, you black B word. Yes, you heard me right, you black B word. That was the first time I experienced racism here in UK, and it was not the last time. So people do not talk of it, but the reality of the matter is that there are times when you are going to experience racism in care homes. Why am I saying particularly in care homes? Is because in care homes they admit people sometimes with mild dementia, and so forth and so on. And when it comes to people with dementia, as they grow old, their memory and everything is deteriorating, and they tend to say things as they are, or they tend to say things as they feel. They don't have to sugarcoat anything. They don't have to hide anything from you. Say that they like you or they don't like you. Simply as that. And the problem is, no matter how much, even for those with capacity, just because they are residents, they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. And unfortunately, most of the time, when we reported incidences of racism, because I make the point that every incident of racism, I report it, nothing would get done. So you have to come up with a strategy on how you are going to survive when you experience such situations. Because first day to me, it was a shocker, and the next thing that I did was to go to the toilet and start crying and start asking questions about my skin color and so forth, and start asking myself why I even came here and stuff like that. I want to lie, my first days here in UK, most of the time all I was thinking of was going back home, because it wasn't pleasant. So you have to prepare yourself. I have had incidences where I've been told, I am sorry, I cannot be nursed by a monkey. Go back to the bush where you come from. And I had to make a choice. Do I continue going to cry, or I have to find a coping mechanism and a strategy? Because no one is going to help me in this situation. So I came up with a coping strategy. Whenever I'm told that I'm a monkey or whatever, I say, oh, do you have any bananas? What do you mean, do I have any bananas? You know, for this cute little monkey, so that I tell you the stories about where I come from. I don't have any bananas and stuff like that. Anyway, let me tell you the story. Then I'll create my own stories. You see, since you said I come from the bush, let me tell you the stories which happen in the bush. You see, we live with lions, and the gorillas are our cousins, and this is what we do in the bush. Do you know how we hunt? Do you know how we gather our food and stuff like that? I just create an interesting topic. We sit there and the person gets intrigued by what I'm saying and all that. At the end of the day, that insult has not done anything to me. So it's a coping strategy that I came up with, because you will face incidences where left, right and center you are insulted for being black, or you are being told, I am sorry, I cannot be nursed by a black person. Is there anyone else who is white in this building who can nurse me? So those are some of the things that people don't really tell you, but these are things which happen, things which I have first-hand experience. So when you're working in a care home, the basic duties that you do when you get to work are simple and straightforward. Your day is lined up like this. You come to work, you receive handover, you go and check your residents, you go and count your drugs, you check your resuscitation equipment, you give your medication, you can assist in the floor by washing 1 or 2 people. You do the GP phone calls, OT phone calls, physiotherapy. You're basically phoning different fraternities. Either you're phoning pharmacies about the medication, or you're phoning the doctor about patients' conditions and stuff like that. Also, you write your notes, you write your care plans, you can admit patients, you do dressings. So basically that is what happens in a care home. However, it is not as easy as it sounds, because most of the time in care homes, the complaint has been people do not get adequate orientation, which is true. You go there, you're only given 1 day orientation or 2 days orientation, and the next thing you're expected to be flying solo. It is not easy. I remember the first days when I was doing phone calls. You make phone calls, you are speaking with this accent of mine, and when you're speaking to people over the other end of the phone, they'll keep on telling you, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, repeat yourself. What are you saying? Because of the accent. You understand? I can never forget the first days when I started working. I was making a phone call, then one individual said, can you repeat what you're saying? I don't understand. And she had spent about 5 minutes trying to say, repeat what you said. And I'll try to enunciate my words, say word for word for word, until she ended up calling the colleague to say, come and listen to this person. I don't even understand what she's saying. And that person came and said, and I explained to them, this is what I want. And that person managed to get me at the first call. So I didn't hang up the phone. She told the colleague what I wanted. And the next thing, they all burst out laughing. Never in my life have I felt so small. I was pained. I was really pained, They laughed like it was so hilarious. That is that all that she was trying to say after spending 5 minutes trying to listen to her. So those are some of the challenges that you may face. Another thing, when you work in a care home, you just have to accept the fact that you are not a nurse. Yes, you are not a nurse. You are a nurse / carer. If you are working night shift, it can just be you and a carer on duty with 20 residents. And if you just have 20 residents, you are fortunate. I've got a friend of mine who works night shift like me. She works with 58 residents on night duty. There are people who work with 76 residents on night duty. And she works with 58 residents on night duty, and she'll be the only one giving medication to 58 residents. So in the event that you work with 20 residents and it's just the two of you, the expectation is that you come to work, you give your medication, you take the observations for residents, you take the oxygen saturation levels for residents. On top of that, after finishing your medication round, you will go and work as a carer on the floor, putting people to bed, changing their pads, and so forth and so on. You discover that here in UK, there is moving and hanging, and they've got devices which they use for moving residents. We've got things like the Sarastedi, the hoist, and you cannot use that equipment by yourself. So the expectation is that you are supposed to be true when you're using that equipment, and you discover that you can work in a unit where 19 of those residents require to be either hoisted or use a Sarastedi or whatever. They basically need 2 people. So after finishing your medication round, you go and work on the floor. You're working as a carer, you're working as a nurse, and if you are unfortunate, sometimes you might work with a carer who will turn all the residents to her or him and make sure that you are the one who does the cleaning. Whether it's poo, whether it's what, you do the cleaning of all residents. You understand? Then after finishing that, if there are any accidents which happen during that period, maybe someone falls or anything, that's your responsibility as a nurse. If someone needs resuscitation, that's your responsibility as a nurse. If someone is sick, that's your responsibility as a nurse. If anything happens to the resident, that is your responsibility as a nurse. At the end of the day, you've got so many things on your hands. You've got so many things to do as an individual. And having so many things to do as an individual, should anything happen to one of the residents, they glorify that one wrong thing that you did. They come and say, oh, such a resident, the pad was wet and it's neglect and and stuff like that. Yet sometimes you cannot determine when someone is going to urinate. You cannot determine when someone is going to have a bowel action. You can change someone's pad right now, and 10 minutes later they can do whatever they want to do in the pad. You cannot say, I've changed your pad, now don't urinate, now don't pee. But then you discover that one person whom they find with a wet pad, it's going to be a very big issue. They forget about the other 19 residents that we took good care of, whatever work you did and stuff like that. Forget about it. And they glorify that one thing. That's why you hear people saying that when you're working in a care home, you're actually working on eggshells. You actually lose your pin. There are people who are backbiters. I was one of those people who are skeptical about this thing, that there are people who make you lose your pin. There's nothing like that. What could you have done for someone to make you lose your pin? Until it happened to me. Of course, I didn't lose my pin. I had a colleague, and that colleague became very close to me. Very close. From the time she came here, she happened to be given my number by the person who lived in the BNP where I used to live before. And that person told her that, oh, you're going to meet this person at work, that where you're going to work, that's where she works, and so forth. Oh, she's a nice person. Of course, I'm a nice person. Am I not nice? She's a nice person and stuff like that. So first day, it was spoke to me, hi, and me, I don't mind. I talk to anyone. Text me today, I'll talk to you. I don't mind. I talk to anyone. So I spoke to her, and these are the things that I used to do for her. First thing, she was like, oh, you see, my landlord, he refused to give out his bank details and so forth, and now the company was not able to pay for the rent, and I don't know what to do. That I'm like, no, don't worry. I used to stay in this place, and I have his bank details, so I'm going to pay on your behalf. Even if the company is going to pay me, for now, I'll pay on your behalf. So I paid the rent and deposit from my money. It was doing her a favor. Few days later, phone call. Hi, Popo, I'm in such and such a place. I'm stuck. I don't even know how I'm going to go for OSCE training. And I say, don't worry. I will call the taxi for you. The taxi is waiting for you in such and such a place. You can go and board the taxi and so forth. Come to work times. At work, every night, every other night, 3 a.m. should phone me. Popo, I'm stuck here. I'm trying to write a that text, or this has happened to a resident. What do you think I'm supposed to do? Can you help me? I don't know what to do. And I would always assist this colleague of mine. Popo, may I please exchange your shifts? I'm stuck. I need to do this. Help me. I would help. Popo, I've been kicked out of my accommodation. I have no place to go. Don't worry. Come and stay with me. So this is someone who became dear to me, and all the time I would run to her rescue. Whatever the situation was, I would run to her rescue. And this is a person who was the very first person who said to me, Popo, open YouTube. People love you. You are going to do well in your YouTube. Open YouTube. If you don't know how to open YouTube, I will help you and stuff like that. It was all good. It was beautiful. Until this fateful day at work. An incident happened. And after that incident happened, so I was working as a carer on this particular day. And as a carer, whatever happened to work, I'll go and report to my nurse. She's my nurse. And I go and report to her. This is what has happened. She shouted to me. And I'm like to her, no. I'm sorry, I can tolerate anything, but I am not going to tolerate you talking to me like that. And as usual, because she had done this to other people, and the same response that she gives, I can talk to you however I want to talk to you. I'm the nurse. But even if you are the nurse, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to disrespect me. I was like, don't point, no, don't point your finger at me. It's like, oh, your finger pointed at me first, and I can point a finger at you if I want. And she was doing that to my face. And this is at work, guys. She was doing this to my face. This is at work. I removed the hand, said, no, don't speak to me like that. And then she was like, yes, I'm going to report to the manager that you beat me. I was shocked. I ignored that and I just walked away. And as I walked away, my finger touched the belly. Since it was a pregnant woman, touched the belly. Yes, I'm also going to report that you hit my belly. Hit your belly? Why would I hit your belly? Yes, my precious baby. So guys, I took that as a job. The next thing, she had called another colleague and said, I was in the corridor, and unfortunately she didn't know that I was in the corridor. I was listening to the whole conversation that she was having with the colleague. First she says to the colleague, I want to call the police. I want her to lose her job. I'm going to tell the police that she beat me up. And then my colleague was sure to beat you up. Where is the evidence that she beat you up? And then I'm also going to say she spat on me. You know that spitting is a crime. Then the colleague is like, how did she spit at you? No, something dropped out of her mouth when she was talking. Like you can see some of the things are dropping out of my mouth as I'm talking. I want her to lose her job. I want her to lose her job. My colleague stood there in shock that, are you serious? And you know what? She phoned the manager, asked the manager, may I please write that text? The manager said, no, don't write that text. I want to phone my GP and pretend that I'm sick because her finger touched my belly and when I said my baby this, she said I don't give an F about your baby. So I'm going to fix her. I'm going to fix her. I'm going to make sure that she loses her job. And for sure the manager called me and asked me, Pauline, she said you beat her up. I was like, excuse me. How did she say I beat her up? Because beating is to assault and injure someone through hitting, kicking, or repeated punching. So how did she say that I hit her? And then she was like, she said she put her finger on her face and you hit the finger off her face. Then I was like, what was the finger doing in my face? And then the next day I was like, oh, she said you spat on her. And then I said, to spit is to eject saliva forcible from one's mouth, often as a gesture of anger. So how did she say I spat on her? Oh no, she said you were eating something, and as you were eating something, you were talking and something dropped from your mouth and fell on her arm. Then I asked, so is that spitting on someone? There was silence. And so you see guys, this issue was dismissed because it wasn't the first time that this certain individual had shouted at people, pointed at them and stuff like that. That's how this issue was dismissed. But do you see that this is someone who was determined to make me lose my pin, and she declared it with her own mouth. She wanted to call the police. If you have a police record, you cannot work anywhere in England. You saw that people from Zimbabwe who had committed small crimes like assault and so forth were deported back to Zimbabwe because of small crimes. And this is someone who is trying to get me a police record, 2, lie and say I assaulted her, 3, lie and say I spat on her. Of which all these are criminal offenses which can cost you your pin. So when people say that people will make you lose your pin and so forth and so on, they are those kind of people. And what made matters worse is that this is someone that I loved and held dear to my heart. And you know what? You will meet people like that at work. You will meet people who will fabricate stories. There are people who have been before the NMC board because stories were fabricated against them. You can have 2 people witnessing something which did not even happen just to make you lose your pin. So that's why they say when you're working in care homes, you have to watch your back all the times. And that's why they say it's not everybody who smiles at you who likes you. You get it? I will not lie, I was deeply hurt by that, but there was a lesson to learn. So you meet such situations at work. And then you also meet situations whereby, remember I said as a nurse you're going to be working as a carer. And obviously when you're working as a carer, it's not all the time, but there are times when carers end up thinking that you are at par with them because you are doing the same duties as them. And sometimes they do not award you that respect as a nurse. You see, there are instances where you find a carer going, handing a peg to you, telling you to go and change whatsoever in room 1000 there. And me, you'd wonder, where I worked, there was always etiquette. Being a senior nurse, whenever I walked into the ward, you'd expect people to stand up in respect of your seniority. There's nothing like that in UK. There's nothing like that in UK. So sometimes you really have to be a strong person and stand your ground and say no. Because sometimes when you're working with a carer, they will end up telling you what to do. For example, maybe you're changing someone, they say, no, do not apply Cavilon, apply Cytocream. Then you say, no, this one is prescribed Cavilon. Then they tell you that, but I've been working here longer than you have been, and I know what works for patients. You cannot tell me that Cavilon is going to work and stuff like that. So you find that people will be challenging you. You find that you were working with carers who will be challenging you. At times you're working with carers who are the ones who now want to be leading you and giving you instructions and telling you what to do. And if you're not able to stand your ground to say, no, listen, I'm the nurse here. My role is to delegate you, and you carry out the duties that I've delegated you. And when we're work together as a team. If you don't do that, they will walk all over you. Walk all over you. I'm not saying that they are all the same. You work with lovely people. I work with the loveliest of people that I've ever met. So sometimes you might think that it's the carers, but no, it's not the carers. It's the company which is allowing carers to behave like that. Yet another company has got a totally different culture on how the carers treat nurses and how the nurses treat their carers. If you're still with me this far, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. So guys, when you're working in care homes, you really have to be careful. You really have to be jacked up. Trust at your own peril. Be mindful that you are working on eggshells. If you want to work as a night nurse, be prepared that you are not only just a nurse, you are also a carer. So basically, when you want to come and work in a care home, it's not for the faint-hearted. You really have to be strong. You really have to be brave. You really have to be able to stand your ground. You really have to come up with strategies on how you're going to be dealing with multiple situations that you might face at work. Don't forget to make Google and YouTube your best friend, because those are the people who will help you with some of the things that you don't know. Sometimes it might not be that you don't know the thing. You can hear someone say, go and change your convene. And you're asking yourself, what is a convene? You are used to a pulse tubing. Then you go into Google, what is a convene? You go into YouTube, what is a convene? How do you insert a convene? You watch the 2-minute video, 3-minute video. The next thing, you now know how to insert a convene. These are some of the things or some of the challenges that I wanted to share with you which happen in care homes. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. May you kindly like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. Love you so much, guys. I will see you in my next video.